Hey, how you doing? Thanks a lot. Cheers, take care.
This look familiar? Seems like everybody's doing this right now. Tens of millions of people worldwide are using Uber Eats alone every day, never mind all the other delivery companies that are out there. So as a supporter of smarter shopping and home cooking, I wondered, is there any way a delivery can ever beat a home cooked meal on cost, flavour, nutrition or convenience? So come join me as we find out in this week's episode.
I don't know how people can afford it. We're in the middle of a cost of living crisis. Food inflation is going through the roof. Does everyone have discount codes that I don't know about or something?
So I was genuinely baffled, but then I came across this narrative that you can't make good quality food at home for less than the price of a takeout. So you should just therefore accept you have to eat less interesting food if you're on a budget.
Maybe this is part of the issue, because maybe what people are actually saying is, I want to eat nice food, so if it's going to cost me more making it at home, then I might as well just get it delivered. And I don't know what you think, but this whole it's expensive to eat well at home thing, I think at best is grossly misleading, and at worst, it's just plain rubbish. But I wanted to prove it.
So here's the deal. I'm picking something to get delivered, I'm making my own version of it at home, running some highly scientific analysis, and then I'm going to tell you what I find in terms of taste, nutrition, cost and convenience, and most importantly, which one I think is the best option overall. So first thing I needed was a meal off Uber Eats, something that looked fairly healthy, something with a decent hit of protein in it. And to be honest, the very first thing I needed to do was figure out my way around Uber Eats, because I've only been on there twice before and I didn't pay much attention on either occasion. Anyway, after a bit of scrolling, I found what looked like a good option. $22, seemed pretty standard for where I live, but I couldn't believe how many attempts there were to upsell me, and I can only imagine how many people fall for that. The real shocker though was a $10 delivery fee. Under normal circumstances, that would have been me out. But in the interest of research, I choked back my disbelief and hit the button. So, what to do with 50 minutes or so while you're waiting for some grub to turn up? Well, in this case, it was a great opportunity to go buy the ingredients to make this little meal for myself. But first, time to think about being efficient.
I'm always well up for things that can make life a bit easier, but they have to be sustainable. They have to be things that are actually going to make my life easier, not just add more jobs to my daily existence. And that's why I like Prosper. Big shout out to the Prosper team for sponsoring this week's video. Now, Prosper is a meal planning app that makes it easy to generate custom meal plans based on your nutrition goals and your personal preferences. I've tried plenty of apps before, but Prosper's different because it's very easy to use and it's very flexible around recipes. And for me, what I really like is it's helping me with my nutrition goals, or macros, as I now know they're called. New word for me, learned that because of Prosper. When I've been working out, I know I need to take on some extra protein, but I don't really build that consciously into my meals the way I should. But with Prosper, I do. And all I have to do is tap Generate Meal Plan to create a full plan that hits all my targets. It can use whatever recipe I want, and there's also an automatic grocery list that'll tell me everything I need for that plan. Your food log gets pre-populated with your meal plan too, so all you have to do to track what you've eaten is mark foods as eaten when you eat them, which is good. And it's available on iOS and Android and desktop. You should definitely consider this if you want to make a long-term commitment to sensible, manageable home cooking and steer clear of unnecessary deliveries. But the best part of all is those lovely people at Prosper are offering Grocery Dad viewers a whopping 1 month of free Prosper Pro access. And that's good for you because it means getting your hands on all sorts of extra features, like scheduling which meals you want to include in your plan, setting different nutrition goals for each day of the week, and a whole lot more. 1 week trials just aren't long enough, are they really? Click my link in the description or scan the QR code to download Prosper for free today and use my promo code GroceryDad to get 1 month of Prosper Pro for free. If you enjoy it, leave a review because the Prosper team have assured me they read every single one, much like we do on this channel.
So I went off to my local Aldi to pick up some apples, pink ladies in this case, at $4.99 a kilo, a bunch of kale for $3.49, a sweet potato that was $3.99 a kilo, and some chicken fillets. Now I hesitated a little with this. Don't usually buy chicken fillets because they're bloody expensive here. So $16.49 a kilo for a small pack, which I wouldn't normally have done, but I thought in the end this would probably make the cost comparison even more interesting. Then we have the big hit in absolute terms, bag of almonds, $18.65 a kilo, 40% of the total cost of this basket of goods. And finally, goat's cheese at $3.79. Then it's off to the self-serve, bung it all in a bag, and back home we go. Now, I get to some extent when people say eating at home is expensive. This small bag of groceries set me back $34, and if all I was doing was judging the headline price, I might be tricked into thinking this wasn't very good value. But it is also very, very obvious that this is far more than 1 meal's worth of food, and so my cost per meal is clearly going to be way lower than the $34 I forked out on the day, providing I commit to using up all the ingredients that I've bought. If you're not completely committed to doing that, then you do run the risk of throwing a considerable amount of money straight down the drain. If you buy $15 worth of almonds, you gotta be using $15 worth of almonds at some point. Now, I've had a lot of requests for more cooking on the channel, so this is especially for you folks. And even though I'm not all that proficient at filming my cooking exploits, I did at least gain some inspiration from Prosper with an easy little recipe for sauteed kale. So I rip off a few branches, stick it in the colander, give it a good old rinse, and then set it aside while I get on with the next job. Oven up to, what's that, 180 degrees C. Grab my sweet potato, chop it into small cubes, in a bowl with olive oil, salt, pepper, give it a good old stir, onto a baking tray, stick it in the oven for about 25 minutes. Then it's back to the kale, 1 bulb of garlic roughly chopped. That goes into the pan with olive oil, it's already heated. Let that fry off a little bit, just make sure it doesn't burn. Then the kale goes in, and I've given that a rough chop as well. Gave that a good few minutes just to get some flavour into it. And then I added half a cup of water, lid on to let it steam down a bit, final quick stir, and it's onto the plate, and the first part of my homemade chicken salad is complete. So then I had a little bit of time to get my chicken cooked, and I put my fillet in a Ziploc bag with some olive oil, some mustard, some salt and pepper. And I knew it wouldn't be kind of really well marinated, but I figured a few minutes is better than nothing. That went into the pan on a high heat, and I left that to sear for a bit, and once it had some nice colour on it, it was ready to slice. By this time, my sweet potatoes had a nice bit of crisp to them, so they were ready to go into the bowl with the kale. Then it's back over to the chicken, that goes in, and by this point I was thinking this is starting to look really, really nice. And just the finishing touches to go now, so I crumbled/scraped some goat's cheese on top, chopped a handful of almonds and scattered those on too, squeezed a fresh lemon over the top, and it was only some time later that I realised I had completely forgotten to add the apple. But these things happen, not a showstopper, and that aside, I was really pretty happy with how this had turned out.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, take care.
So how is our little brown paper bag full of food going to compare?
Here's our vinaigrette here. As an almond. Now we've got a sweet potato, got our apple, chicken with some goat's cheese on it, and kale underneath. And then the same on the other side. They say the first taste is with the eye, and to be fair, this looks like it's been sitting in a box for 45 minutes. We'll get to the taste test in a minute, but first of all, let's see how much we've got of each ingredient, so then we can work out our macros. Let's start with sweet potato. Let's see, there we go.
So 125 grams of sweet potato gives us 2 grams of protein and 26 grams of carbs. Then that amount of kale doesn't really bring much to the party. A couple of grams of protein, a gram of carbs. Then the chicken, which is the big hitter, obviously. Nice, decent slug of protein, a little bit of fat in there as well. And finally the apple, natural sugar, fibre, vitamins, all good stuff. Now the cheese and the almonds turned out to be such a negligible amount after I'd separated everything that I couldn't really measure them at all. So excluding that and the tiny little drizzle of dressing, 64 grams of protein, 7 grams of fat, and 41 grams of carbohydrates. And so with our 2 different versions ready, it was time to get down to business and sort the men from the boys in terms of taste and in terms of flavour.
I'm excited about the goat cheese.
So, I've made a little vinaigrette, bit of mustard, what do you call it, with bits in?
Whole grain.
Whole grain mustard, a little bit of whole grain mustard, olive oil, lemon, drizzle it on. I don't know where to start. Bit of chicken, bit of kale, bit of cheese. Nice, chicken's still warm. The vinaigrette is lovely. A little bit of cheese, goat's cheese. You want to try some?
Yes. I'm excited about the goat cheese. Is it goat cheese or is it feta?
It's goat's cheese. Yeah.
Run. So good.
Got some almonds on it as well. Do you know what? If it hadn't been for the almonds, this would be incredibly cheap.
Did the almonds really add that much?
Well, yes, as we know, they did. But before we get into the costs, a quick look at how my homemade meal stacked up in terms of nutrition. A few variations in terms of quantities, most notably a little less kale, a little more chicken, and some discernible amounts of cheese and almonds, which were, as I said, conspicuously rare in the home delivery. But they did make a meaningful contribution to the final macros of our home-cooked version, and that gave us a whopping 76 grams of protein, beating the delivery by 12 grams, 20 grams of fat, and 45 grams of carbohydrate, very similar to the delivery, but we were missing the fibre and the sugar from the apple in my version.
Yours is better, darling.
Oh, you're just saying that.
Yeah, your vinaigrette tastes a lot fresher because you've obviously got fresh lemon juice in it and stuff like that.
Mm.
This one probably isn't the same.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's not. It's nice. The chicken, I think our chicken had more kind of bite to it, but this is more marinated.
Yeah.
I'm not that impressed with the sweet potato.
No, yours was freshly roasted, that's why. So it tasted a lot less soggy.
This is soggy.
Yeah.
It's been in that box for 45 minutes as well.
Mm.
While the guy did his rounds. What about the kale?
Your kale was actually better because I think you massaged it, or you must have done something to it and it made it more palatable.
I used a nice little steamed, sauteed kale recipe
Oh, okay.
off
So you sauteed
Prosper.
it. Yeah, so your kale tasted better. This is just like raw kale, isn't it?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Mine had a little garlic in it as well.
Yeah, that was nice. I don't love eating raw kale in a salad, so this yours was a lot better.
Okay, so let's wrap this all up then. Now, I know this isn't the most scientific experiment you will ever see. It's not statistically robust in terms of sample size, and there are a lot of variables, but what we do know is that the meal I prepared cost me $5.85. That's the cost of the meal itself, not the ingredients that I bought. Those ingredients cost me $34, but I still have another at least 2 or 3 meals left to make from what's left over in my fridge. $34 just so happens to be the same as the cost of the Uber Eats, including that astronomical delivery fee. But even if I strip that out, the Uber Eats still cost 4 times more than a home-cooked meal. And yeah, you can go ahead and add a few cents worth of fuel in there as well if you like. It's not going to change the fact that home cooking is cheaper. Now, in terms of nutritional value, I guess that was pretty even because I picked something that looked fairly healthy and I tried to replicate it. Something interesting to think about is that I forgot the apple in my meal, and that added some good fiber and some good vitamins to the delivery, but it also accounted for about 20% of the total weight of the meal off Uber Eats. Yet it is one of the cheapest ingredients. So I'm always wary of this with deliveries. They're often gonna kind of like bulk the thing out with cheaper stuff and short you on the more expensive ingredients, which is why there was virtually 0 goat's cheese or almonds in their meal. And that makes the value for money comparison even worse in my view. Flavor, well, you might argue is going to be something of a subjective thing, but let's just agree, shall we, that food doesn't taste that great when it's been sitting in a box for an hour. Their chicken was better marinated, but mine was better quality. My kale had some flavor, theirs didn't. Overall though, Holly and I just thought that ours had a freshness that it's just hard to beat from food that you get delivered in. Lastly then, you've got convenience. And to be honest, I've never been kind of that impressed with the speed of delivery anytime I used Uber Eats, and this was no exception. I mean, if you think that I had enough time to go to the store, buy the ingredients, and cook the meal for myself before the delivery even turned up, then there's really no argument for it, because it's vastly more expensive. The nutrition and the flavor are certainly no better than what you can make yourself in your own home with a minimum of skill in the kitchen, and quite clearly it is not the case that you're going to get some incredibly tasty, super fresh meal turning up on your doorstep in under 20 minutes. So my big takeout on the takeout is this. When you hear some YouTube voice with 1 million subscribers telling you interesting, quality, home-cooked food will bankrupt you, be very, very, very cautious. In the vast majority of situations, what you can make at home will be cheaper, it will be nicer, and it will be quicker than what arrives in a brown paper bag at your front door. And if you do want a genuine 5-star meal, then just go to the restaurant. You know, special occasion, have it fresh the way that it's meant to be. Now, if this has gotten you thinking, there's a great place to put your thoughts, and that is in the comments. Do you agree or disagree with my assessment? And I would also really like to know, would you like to see more cooking content on Grocery Dad? Let me know. And since you're here, I recommend you check out this playlist because it's full of more stuff to help you shop smarter and live better. See you next time.